Is it distracting that I'm in my monstera right now? I think the shot's cool. I don't know. Okay. The March full moon marks the warm full moon, when the earth thaws from the winter cold and worms shed nutrients to get the earth ready for her spring blooms. I like to think of how the real New Year starts here in this transition period. We're getting ready for what the New Year may bloom in for us and how we may bloom too. I also think of how kismet it is that March aligns with me coming back to the studio. Hi, I am ChiChai. I am a multi-disciplinary artist from the Bay, and I have been gone. From mid-December to mid-January, I was traveling in Asia with family, and then when I came back, I was sick with the flu for the remainder of January, and then all of February I was in a marathon of murals for an upcoming cafe, which we'll talk about another time. Needless to say that the last 3 months my routine has been tossed out the window. The time away from my studio has me reflecting on what are my routines and what are the things part of my day-to-day that help keep me grounded, as well as in the face of uncertainty. Not only because the last few months had not much of a routine, especially when I was traveling, but because this career as a full-time artist naturally comes with a lot of uncertainty. Every project is very different from each other. The length of it, the demands of it, and even just, do I have a project this month? Am I gonna have to hustle in different ways? Being a full-time artist requires a lot of flexibility, creative problem solving, and that can be stressful, a little daunting, which is why I'm grateful that in entering my 4th year as a full-time artist, I learned ways in which help give me some certainty via routine. In this video, I share what's in my routine, aka systems I created for myself to help sustain my studio practice and, quite frankly, myself. And I hope you enjoy. The top of the list is to have a slow start in the day. I love when I can start my mornings slowly, not in a rush, not with a huge sense of urgency. I believe being able to start that way helps keep a sense of calm throughout the day, especially during high demand type of days with certain projects and deadlines. Slow start for me can look like making my own coffee or tea in the morning as well as breakfast, actually sitting down to eat and drink it. Or sometimes I love to start my day at one of my favorite cafes, whether it be Understory in Oakland or Golden Goat in Soma or Excelsior Coffee in Excelsior. Also because I've become friends with folks from these places. When I'm locked in the studio or even working on a mural, especially if it's indoors, a lot of the times I don't see anybody or talk to anyone that day. My slow starts can possibly be my only source of socializing until I come home to Christopher. Yeah, not too indoors caffeine addiction, but definitely having a nice drink and treat to start the day slowly helps keep me steady for the rest. Sometimes those slow starts also look like farmers market and library visits. I love being able to make necessary errands feel like a beautiful part of the day. I love seeing all the different vendors, different walks of life that come through, but also the farmers market in downtown is next to the library. And so I also love that the main library in the city has such huge resources for all the media that I work in, as well as for Tagalog learning too. Please check out your local library. This is a plug. Another part of a slow start, which brings me to number 2, is a journal practice. And that could be through simple daily sketches, even just writing in my planner, or an actual journal entry. I really believe that going analog, like for real, writing it down, helps enforce that slow start for the day, but also helps kind of connect the mind and body together because you are physically using more energy to write out reflections in your mind. So like when we were in Vietnam and the Philippines, I brought my watercolor sketchbook. I love to watercolor journal while traveling because even there it forces me to slow down and soak in the moment, but also because it's a nice moment for myself. Nothing from my journal, whether it's the sketchbook or my planner or whatever, directly benefits anyone else. This is simply for me, and I love being able to dedicate that time, whether this is part of my slow morning or a break in the day. I think it's really important that we take that moment for ourselves. Third on that list is simply going outside. When we get caught up in our day-to-day work and deadlines and whatnot, folks can become a troll. Folks can become quite cranky, like we've been locked up for too long, but it's such a wonder what just getting a little sun-kissed or touching grass or seeing how the wind blows through the trees makes such a huge difference in our mood. I think it's really important to take the time to step away from the work to recharge with Mama Earth, and that's always readily available to us. Not only do I make sure to take a little outdoor break in my mural work or if I'm at the studio, I also really make sure to run. I've always loved running since I was, I think, a teenager. And I love how running is a reminder of that we do have control of our bodies and that I can connect my mind and body together, but also because of where running gets to take me. I'm currently training for a marathon, and recently I did my practice 20 miler, and on that run I ran across the Golden Gate Bridge while dolphins were migrating, and I even got to see a whale too, all swimming under the bridge. And speedy runner, especially in these long practice runs, I'm definitely taking my time, and so I get to soak in and truly be in these beautiful moments and places with the earth. I usually do my long runs on the weekend, and those beautiful runs. I mean, very privileged to be from the Bay. We have so many beautiful trails, but the energy that I get from getting to soak in all of that definitely carries with me into the week. When Christopher was still traveling with me in Asia, I love that we dedicated time to do that. And with that, we got to see the Marble Mountains in Da Nang, as well as run around the lake in Dalat. Definitely grateful for running and how that allows me to be outdoors. Last but not least on this list, I think is very, very important for other freelance artists, and something that quite frankly is not the strongest part of my routine. Last but not least on the list is dedicated time for creating for self. I say that this is not my strongest part of my routine, because I do have a tendency to deprioritize the things that I want to create for myself. I am a muralist as well as a teaching artist. I would say those two are my main bread and butter for being able to sustain myself as an artist. I do fashion design as well. Last year, I heavily focused on working with the collective that I'm part of, Common Thread. We had a series of workshops and also a fashion exhibition. And through all of that, I had created, I think, only 2 pieces of work for myself all of last year. 2, just 2. One in February and one in December. This one was called Can We Simply Be Dancers, which I made a video of, which you can view here. And the last one was a dress that I made out of scrap fabric. And the reason why it literally took the end of the year for me to create anything again was because I constantly deprioritize my own projects in order to focus on commissions and the collective. And I'm so grateful for all those opportunities and the experiences, but by the end of the year, I was really sad that I realized I had only created one piece. So tips for other artists and like portfolio building. I applied for a lot of different opportunities last year, and I would get to the final. I would become so close and just didn't make it all the way. So these opportunities include public art opportunities as well as artist residencies and exhibitions, and all of these required some interpersonal storytelling through your work and your portfolio. And towards the end of the year, I realized my portfolio was majority work for others, whether it be the work in the collective, but mainly commission work. And while that all these murals showcase my skill set and my creativity and my ability to storytell, there wasn't much personal storytelling of me. Like, my style is distinguishable, but I wouldn't say you can necessarily hear my voice in a lot of the works in my portfolio because I was speaking on the behalf of the clients. So I think dedicating that time to create and work on your own personal projects will not only help yourself, it's a little bit more involved than your daily journal entry or sketch. But I think it's also such a great portfolio builder, as you get to create a body of work that reflects you and your spirit and what's unique about you. That's something that I really, really want to work on this year, and I am very aware that this does require some privilege. Earlier years of being freelance, I definitely didn't have the time to pursue personal projects because I needed that money. I needed that consistency of client building for income to come through. But entering my 4th year, I have locked in some higher paying work that actually allows me the space and time to create for myself. But I do wish that I at least spent like 10 minutes a day, like 30 minutes a day working on a certain forgotten painting or so on and so forth. Like, I could have made that part of my daily habit too. And so that's what I'm gonna try to do this year. And while I talked about the systems I've built that help sustain me, I clearly don't have all of it locked down. I am a constant work in progress. And I think what's beautiful about reflecting about this with the worm full moon and Lunar New Year and just spring coming along is that there's a sense of energy and motivation to revive these routines, but also restructure them to be stronger. With all that being said, I am dedicating more time to creating my own personal work this year. I said it. I don't know if I'm going to include it in this video and if I'm even publishing this publicly, but it's out there in the universe. I'm going to create for myself more this year, and I invite all of you to do the same. And I'm gonna start off with this painting that has actually been neglected since November 2024. And I'm revisiting this and some other pieces of work that I look forward to finishing.